Welcome back. You're watching News Today. Now, the top boss of Bharat Biotech presented a point-by-point defense of Covaxin after it was approved for emergency to the indigenous vaccine triggered a massive controversy, though. Experts have questioned the approval in the absence of phase 3 clinical trial data. Various governments' arms have now, however, come out defending the approval, saying approval has been given keeping in view the threat posed by the new virus strain.
And we have done phase 1 clinical trial, 2 dose, 90% immunogenicity, 4-fold seroconversion. Because we use 90%, we get 100% seroconversion. But 4-fold is a benchmark in a vaccine field. So 4-fold is the one what we use as a thing. And in phase 2, we again 4-fold seroconversion, more than 98% immunogenicity data. I know only one thing is a science, nothing else I know it.
Krishan Ella makes an emotional and impassioned defense of Covaxin. The Bharat Biotech founder took the bull by the horns as he put out a point-by-point defense of India's indigenous coronavirus vaccine developed by ICMR and his company. The emergency use approval given to the vaccine is hit by controversy as it is yet to complete third phase trials. While defending Covaxin, Ella took a swing at the other vaccine to get drug regulators' approval without naming the competitor.
I have asked a simple question on UK trial, clinical trial. You asked a question UK AstraZeneca clinical trial, whether 60%, 70%, 90%. Which one is the clinical trial efficacy of that country? Nobody knows. If I had done that type of clinical trial in India, Drug Control of India would have shut down the company.
The DCGI's approval to Covaxin is conditional.
The subject expert committee has reviewed the data on safety and immunogenicity of the vaccine and recommended for grant of permission for restricted use in emergency situation in public interest as an abundant precaution in clinical trial mode.
What has raised eyebrows is the clinical trial mode approval. Since Saturday, various arms of the government have defended the move, calling it backup in case of a surge, especially against the newly detected UK strain.
There is a concern that the benefits that we have achieved over the last 10 months, the decline in the number of cases, the decrease in our mortality, should not get suddenly sort of displaced and we start seeing an increase in number of cases because of this variant strain. We don't have an effective antiviral drug. What we have is vaccines. So we must be proactive, and that is why in an emergency situation where there is suddenly an increase in number of cases and we need to vaccinate a large number of people, the Bharat Biotech vaccine will be used.
Many experts are wondering if the drug regulator has given Covaxin approval in haste.
All the other vaccines that have been authorized across the world, phase 3 trials have been complete.
Yeah.
The data has been published in peer-reviewed journals, and everyone has had a chance to go over it. I don't think it's correct to compare limited safety and efficacy data on a small subset of people in India with large volumes of data on a number of participants of different ethnicities in the trials that have been conducted internationally.
The controversy surrounding the clinical trial data of Bharat Biotech's Covaxin has taken the sheen out of the good work done by our Indian scientists. So much so when the Drug Controller General of India refused to take any questions on the efficacy and the safety of Covaxin as well as Covishield. Pharma companies have had to come out on their own, slinging mud at each other and also having to clean their old coats. Milan Sharma for India Today.
All right, so the question that we're raising right now is Covaxin not hasty or a necessary backup? Because viewers, the third phase trial data is not available right now where Covaxin is concerned. I want to cut across to our two guests this evening. I have Dr. Rajesh Parekh. He's Director, Medical Research and Neuropsychiatry, Jaslok Hospital and Research Centre, Mumbai. Also have Dr. Rajesh Chawla, Senior Consultant, Respiratory and Critical Care, Indraprasth Apollo Hospital, New Delhi. Dr. Chawla, I want to begin with you. Is there any scope or space for emotions when you're talking about public health? Because a lot of people are raising this question right now, that why have we given approval to a vaccine, even if it is for emergency, when we don't have the data to back it?
I agree with you. I think there is absolutely no space for emotions. It has to be based on a sound scientific data. because, you know, if I have to get vaccine, it should be safe and efficacious. We have only the finding that it has immunogenicity, it does have a T cell immunity, but we have not tested in a large number of population the safety and efficacy of this vaccine. I think these are extraordinary situations and the extraordinary decisions they have taken, that suppose there is a surge of cases and we don't have that many vaccines, probably this could be used. But still, I think the safety and efficacy should have been kept at the top rather than taking decision in that kind of a haste.
Dr. Parekh, would you reckon were we a little hasty in giving the approval for Covaxin? Should we have waited maybe till March, because possibly we would have had more data available backing it?
Well, Preeti, I'm not sure, and nor can anybody be sure of the timeline unless the data is made available. And, you know, for the last 2 days, there have been enormous debates, arguments on both sides. And as you alluded to it, there's been a lot of emotion. But what is missing is just 5 minutes worth of data. If the data was available, whatever the data be, then we can debate on the data. But to hold a debate on somebody's integrity, on the emergency, I think it's completely sidestepping the cardinal issue is, do you have evidence for efficacy and safety? If you don't, let us know. I think that's what we ought to be discussing. But that's a very simple discussion, should not take more than 5 minutes. But the fact is, you know, we're going around in circles talking about everything else except the data.
But when we're talking about data, Dr. Parekh, a lot of viewers would, raise questions that we did give the approval to Covishield. Now, what is the difference between a Covishield and a Covaxin, and why is Covaxin being questioned today?
Oh, that's a very simple answer, Preeti. There is one very clear difference. And that has got nothing to do with patriotism or nationalism. The answer is very simple. The data for the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine has been published. It was published last week in the Lancet. It was published even before that. And publication means it's a rigorous process of peer review where, the data is analyzed. I have published in many international journals, and it's not an easy process. Even if the data is rigorous, there are questions asked about the conclusion. There are statisticians who have queries about the significance of the data. And only after all those apprehensions are allayed is the paper accepted for publication. Now, these days, because of emergency conditions, what's happening is many of the top journals, Lancet, New England Journal, and even Nature, are doing pre-publication, a pre-print, which means they put it up. They say, we are reviewing it. The data is available for the public to evaluate, and we'll let you know. So they have made that concession. So on one vaccine, the data is peer-reviewed, published, available for all to see. But on the other, there are, to the best of my knowledge, unless I'm completely ignorant of this, I don't see any publication. Not only that, I don't see any data being made available to the public. And that concerns me. That concern is partially allayed when you say that a special expert committee reviewed it. I'm not questioning the committee. 2 committees have reviewed it. That is reassuring. But if that is so, what is the harm in just releasing the data to the public?
Okay, Dr. Chawla, let me pose that question to you. You also said that extraordinary times pretty much require extraordinary measures. At these times, yes, these times are extraordinary, but we're really not seeing such a big spike that we need this emergency vaccine immediately. And we need not 1, but 2 emergency vaccines as a backup. Would you reckon we're doing the biggest disfavor to Bharat Biotech because it's competent, it's come out with a vaccine? Maybe we should have just waited for a month or 2?
I absolutely agree with you. It's such a good job done. It's a homemade inactivated vaccine, and it is said that probably it could be effective against the mutant also. And probably little waiting would have given more weightage to this vaccine, and it is as probably whatever data is little bit, whatever they have said is that probably it also has a good efficacy. Probably they are doing this trial on 25,000 patients, which I'm told in a lot of countries. And I think the result would be available in March. Probably before that, we should be very cautious in putting on a mass scale to the public.
At these times when we are putting these 2, vaccines for emergency, the rollout plan would be shortly from now. How do you dispel the distrust right now surrounding Covaxin, sir?
Right now, because you see, whenever there is a controversy around any vaccine, because a common man would be very reluctant to take it.
Okay.
Because this should be clear to a common man. Can he take? Is it safe or efficacious? If he has a doubt, people have a doubt in the other vaccines also. When there is a doubt raised by various organizations, so there would be a reluctance on the part of the general public. But I think these should be removed as soon as Dr. Parikh also said, the data is available. We should put it in the public domain so that people can.
Right. Dr. Chhabra, you made a point, but Dr. Parikh, looking at the other side, these are all first generation vaccines, sir. So data will continue to come in. And if we need it, why not use them? Because it's going to continue to evolve. We're going to keep seeing more mutants. We're going to keep seeing more data filtering in.
Well, Preeti, it's nice for you to play the devil's advocate. But today we have the technology to make the data also available in real time. It can be done in a press conference. It can be done by releasing it to the media. And it certainly can be made available on the website. So what is the other side? Let me give you an example. In April 1955, they already had a very effective vaccine, the oral polio vaccine, which was a very similar vaccine to the one that is being released now. And that's, in favor of the Bharat Covaxin. The technology is old. It's been time tested. It's been around for 70 years. But let me tell you what can go wrong. So California-based pharmaceutical, Cutter Laboratories, released the inactivated virus vaccine. And unfortunately, as was discovered later, the process of inactivation was not perfect. 40,000 American children contracted polio. 200 of them got paralyzed and 10 died. And what happened is the entire campaign came to a standstill. So the other side is that if something goes wrong, it's not just a question of one vaccine. It's a question of the entire campaign. Things can and do go wrong in science. We do have to have our safeguards. And I don't think there's anything wrong if somebody says, I'd just like to see the data. What's the problem with that?
Okay, let's leave it at that. Let's hope we have more transparency with it in days to come. But we leave it for our viewers to decide in terms of whether it was right or it wasn't, because these are extraordinary circumstances. Appreciate you both for joining us. Thank you, doctors. With that, I'm going to wrap up this edition of News Today. But I do leave you with this. Hi, everyone. Preeti Chaudhary here. Hope you like this video. For latest news and analysis, like and subscribe to the India Today YouTube channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon to stay updated. Thank you for watching.